Hello everyone and welcome. Many of us have deployed applications to production that have accessibility issues. In this webinar called Agentic DevOps Meet Accessibility, we are going to talk about how GitHub Copilot can help us fix those issues not only at the code generation, but in the pull requests and across the SDLC. I am David Sanchez. I work at Microsoft as a director for go-to-market in the developer audience team. In the last video, we talked about the DevOps foundation in the AI and agentic era, and we talked about the different waves that we have for the AI evolution. The first wave was focused more on AI assistant. The second wave was more focused on the agentic workflow. And now in this new era, we have the agents. So we're going to cover as well in this video how we can have an accessibility agent that can follow all the accessibility guidance that we put in the requirements for our software. Before we get started, I'd like to share with you some concepts in case you are not familiar with accessibility terms. We have the WCAG. This is referred to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. We have the ARIA, that is the Accessibility Rich Internet Applications. We have the XCORE, that is basically common reference for the accessibility testing engine. And we have the ADA, that is basically the Americans with Disability Act. Accessibility is no longer optional. It is legally mandated, increasingly enforced, and exponentially cheaper to address and fix this during development than after deployment. For example, the ADA title in 2024 mandate that state and local government web content must meet the WCAG compliance by 2027 for large entities and by 2028 for the smaller entities. The Section 508 mandates that all US federal agencies must ensure compatible access to electronic and information technology for people with disabilities. The good thing is that with a good foundation of the CI/CD pipelines, we can catch approximately between 30 to 40% of these violations. And that is what we are going to cover in today's demo. As I mentioned before, GitHub Copilot can act as your accessibility agent, not only to be instructed to generate accessibility code by default, but also to help us review the code that we already have and that we will produce by our team or by other developers. We can have different requirements, and this could be set at the accessibility.instructions.md. That is a markdown file that we can have under the .github folder to meet all the different compliance. One example could be this application must conform to version 2.2 of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Something important to mention is the personal level overrides what we have at the repository level and at the same time at the organization level. So it's important to verify what settings you have in your IDE, in your repository, and also what guidelines do you have for the organization level. As an example of what GitHub Copilot can enforce automatically, not only in the code generation, but in the review process, with the right set of instructions, GitHub Copilot can help us to make sure we are following the semantic HTML for the correct structure, making sure that we have the right objects across our HTML files. At the same time, we have the essential area. For example, making sure that we have alternate text for all the images, that we have the appropriate keyboard navigation in all the objects of the web page to make sure all users can navigate as expected. And at the same time, we have the screen reader to make sure all users can hear the content of the website as expected. In today's demo, we're going to explore what accessibility gates we can use in our existing DevOps practices to make sure that we will block all the pull requests that may have accessibility violations that exceed a defined threshold. This will make sure that we will have all the right tools and process as part of our CI/CD to enforce this compliance. So now let's jump on the demo and let's see how we can shift left accessibility in practice. In the last webinar, we ended up the demo by asking the DevOps agent how we can improve the accessibility features in our CI/CD. So let's go back and open that session to review what was the result. So here, as you can see, it was created a month ago, and we have the response with some improvements for the CI/CD workflow. The first task is to add the dedicated audit job as part of the CI/CD. Next is to integrate the Xcore into the Playwright end-to-end. Then we will have the Lighthouse CI comment on the pull request. We have the accessibility scored to the end-to-end summary script. We also have the enforce contracts and ARIA rules as part of the static web app configuration. Next, we have accessibility regression over time to make sure that we have all the content expected in our process for the builds. And as optional, we can add the load testing accessibility metric. So with this, I can assign and approve this work, and Copilot Cloud Agent can start working on that, or I can exit the plan and basically prompt this myself. So for this example, I can work on this on the GitHub app. The GitHub Copilot app basically provides me the what I need. In this case, I already have the repository open. I can set the interactive mode. I can set the plan mode if I want to continue the brainstorm. I can set the autopilot and basically provide all the end-to-end execution without interruptions. So Copilot can work on that. I can define which agent will work on this and what model I want to use. Same experience with the VS Code. I can open VS Code, and I already have the session here. So I can explore the same result we have for the work that I want to continue doing. So in this case, it's basically using the cloud. I can delegate this section to the agent in the cloud, or I can work this locally. So I will basically tell the GitHub Copilot Cloud Agent that I want to work on this. So for this, I'm gonna use the Cloud Agent here, approve, and start working on it. And basically now we will have one more agent session working on this plan. So for this, I'm gonna wait and to see basically what is the response and what improvements. GitHub Copilot will open a pull request automatically with all of these changes, so I can review all the files that will be modified. And in real time, I can see basically what it's working on. It will basically start working on the MCPs that it will need, the GitHub MCP, the Playwright, and so on. After some minutes, we have the implementation in place. So you can see it took 15 minutes to complete. It basically explored the whole repository and made changes to the CI/CD YAML files. At the same time, I can see here what files created with the specs for the accessibility, the YAML for the Lighthouse comments, and we can see basically what files modify. So if we are okay with this plan, we can see the changes that were made, and basically what new files we have, what modify. And once that I have reviewed this, I can go ahead and create a pull request for that. Now with this pull request, I can assign Copilot as a reviewer as well to make sure that we are following all the best practices in the code that we have. And with this, I have the summary script and implementation. So now I can go ahead and approve the workflow to run to make sure that we have these accessibility gates in place, and Copilot will start working on the review as well. So now let's go to change this pull request ready for review, and let's see how the CI/CD process goes. Once that we have all the checks completed in the CI/CD, we can review the results. In this case, for example, the CI/CD end-to-end test is failing. So let's explore what's happening in this execution in the workflow run. And as you can see here, we have some accessibility specs that are not meeting, meaning that we have the privacy page, for example, has some critical serious violation. We have the create game page has a critical serious violation. So as a developers, we now have to fix these accessibility issues in order to continue with the CI/CD process. So let's go back to the pull requests. As you can see, as part of the review, we also have some comments on the changes that were made by the agent. So as you can see, we have 5 comments generated. We can decide if we are gonna commit these suggestions or if we're gonna resolve it in another way. So once that we solve this and we fix the accessibility issues in the website, we will be able to merge these pull requests. That's basically blocked by the gates that we now put in place for the accessibility issues. Once all the changes have been applied, I can go ahead and look for the view session to check what GitHub Copilot worked on. And here I can see basically all the different tasks, the MCPs that used, basically all the execution of the files, and basically the corrections that it made to the privacy view page, as well with the create game view, and basically the report back that came to the pull request. So now with this, I can ask Copilot to fix something else, or I can see the deployment of this process. So remember that in this CI/CD, I have an isolated environment for each PR. So I am able to check for all the different updates of fixed features box that I have for just this PR. So with that, I can see that all the checks have passed. And if I want, I can also verify the execution of this workflow. So here we have the latest execution with all the different jobs that I have as part of this workflow. And in the summary, I can see basically the execution of the workflow. So the build and test, how long it took, the end-to-end test, the accessibility audit that was added as part of this pull request, the deployment to the pull request infrastructure, and then the environment that I have, that is basically the application running, and the end-to-end test. As part of the summary of the workflow, I can see the end-to-end test results. As well, I have the Lighthouse accessibility audit. Right now, it's basically with a threshold less or equal than 90%. So with that, I can see the full report that came back here. And I can ask Copilot to basically fix it. Right now, it's basically a 95. Which is acceptable for this report, but there are some things that I have to still work on it. For example, for the contrast, what it's telling me here is that when the application is not connected to the API, this should be basically more visible with the colors don't have sufficient contrast ratio. So with that, I can keep working on this pull request. I can also see basically what items I have to check manually, the audit that basically passed, and what is not applicable. So I can see this generated Lighthouse for each PR, and I can set the threshold that I want as part of the CI/CD to make sure that I don't have any violations at all. But that will depend basically on your project requirements. Once that I have that, I can go back to the pull request and merge it, or I can keep another Copilot session to make sure that all these issues that were flagged are actually fixed in the next execution. So with that, I just show you how you can add this tool to the CI/CD to have accessibility gates in the workflow process. We also review the Lighthouse report and how we can include the accessibility specifications as part of the end-to-end. So that's something that GitHub Copilot is able to help us with, not only for generating the code, but also for reviewing in the pull request. If you would like to learn more about accessibility and DevOps, I would like to share with you these resources in the comments section so you can review this training and accessibility guidelines. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you find this webinar and these resources valuable to you, and I hope to see you in the next videos.